Welcome to liveAIwire.com, where we take a calm and practical look at the developments shaping modern AI. In this episode, we explore 3 stories that illustrate how deeply these systems are entering everyday life. You can access every episode early on Patreon, and your support, even at the price of a coffee, really helps keep the podcast running. Let's get underway.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Our mission today is to give you the shortcut to being well-informed about, the biggest story in tech. The incredible acceleration of AI. We've gone through a stack of research, and it's clear AI isn't just getting bigger, it's changing its very structure and its role in, everything. We've pinpointed 3 really critical shifts happening right now. First is how AI learns. It's moving away from that old brute force model to something much more human. Second, how it creates. It's becoming this strategic, structural force in huge industries. Think music, gaming, web development. And third, and this might be the most disruptive of all, is how it's starting to control the basic flow of information on the internet.
That's right. The sources all confirm we're past the novelty phase. And these aren't just experimental tools anymore. The facts show these systems are really altering the foundations of multiple domains. So today we're just going to summarize the specific facts from the research, focusing on these 3 huge shifts so you can really get a handle on the mechanics behind the headlines.
Okay, let's unpack this, and we'll start with the deepest change, the most foundational one, the science of learning itself. The core idea from the research is fascinating. For AI to get that human-level flexibility, that intuition, researchers are now thinking it has to mimic how an infant learns, not an adult.
And that comparison is everything. If you think about traditional AI, it was all about scale. It needed these massive labeled data sets, brute force.
Millions and millions of examples.
Billions even, just to teach it to recognize something simple, like a cat. It was incredibly inefficient.
But of course, that's not how babies learn.
Exactly. An infant learns from, very limited input, messy environments, ambiguous feedback. And yet in just a few years, they've mastered language, physics, social cues.
It's an efficiency that traditional AI has just never been able to match.
And that's the performance gap they're now trying to close.
The sources get into how the research is actually mimicking this. One study, it was highlighted in our Cognifit source, showed that babies learn complex things not as one big idea, but by breaking them down.
Right. They break them into simpler subcomponents. The researchers call it concept decomposition.
So instead of learning car as one giant concept,
the infant and now the AI learns the subcomponents first. It learns wheel, motion, engine sound, redness. And by decomposing it, the system can then mix and match those pieces to understand completely new things it's never seen.
And the best example of this in action is a new model they've called a baby VLM.
For listeners, a VLM, a vision language model, is just an AI that can understand both images and text, visuals and language.
And this baby VLM was built specifically to mimic those infant learning patterns.
Right, focusing on that concept decomposition. And the key result, the measurable part, is that even with smaller data sets, with adaptive feedback, sort of like a toddler gets, it's already outperforming much larger traditionally trained models.
On certain tasks, at least.
On low data tasks, yes. It's just more efficient at adapting.
That efficiency is a huge leap. But the source material says the ultimate goal here isn't just about efficiency, it's about something they call emergence.
Emergence. Babies build these mental models of the world.
Yeah.
They experiment, they fail, they try again. It's this continuous adaptive scaffolding of thought.
Which is exactly what static, traditionally trained AI systems have always struggled with. That ability to apply knowledge from one area to a totally new one.
And that's the holy grail, really. That ability to transfer knowledge without massive retraining. But, as you'd expect, as this research embraces this developmental blueprint, it raises some pretty serious ethical questions.
The AI parent trap.
The AI parent trap, exactly. That's what the Argus paper calls it. They're warning about the risk of, outsourcing parenting tasks or developmental support to these very influential AI systems.
Especially if those systems are being, let's say, raised with inherent biases built into their training data from the start.
Or corporate imperatives, even. The researchers are calling for really strict governance and transparency on any system like this that's used around infants, precisely because their input is so formative.
So you have this tension between the incredible power of this new learning method
and the profound responsibility that comes with, raising a digital mind.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Okay, so we've seen AI trying to learn like a human child. Now let's shift to the immediate large-scale impact it's having on the economy, specifically on creative industries. Our next story is about generative AI hitting a genuine tipping point.
Yeah, we have really moved past the idea of this being just a novelty tool, for fun experiments. The sources are pretty clear. One from LiveAwire in October 2025 states that it has become a structural force,
A structural force.
meaning creativity is now, by default, a process that's shared between humans and machines. It's built in.
So it's shifting from being a tool you choose to use to being just part of the structure.
Yeah.
Invisible, almost. Ambient.
Yes, and we're seeing it everywhere. In music, for instance, algorithms are now collaborators. They're suggesting complex melodic patterns, lyrical variations. It's moving past technical support into actual co-authorship.
And in gaming, studios are using these systems as dynamic storytellers.
Right, so instead of a fixed plot, the AI creates adapting narratives. The story literally changes based on your choices as a player.
Which massively extends the replay value of a game.
Infinitely, in some cases. And it's not just entertainment. For large enterprises, this is becoming foundational infrastructure. A company called Quigist talks about it as permanent scaffolding for innovation, for accelerating design and decision-making.
The speed is just staggering. I mean, platforms like 10Web can now generate an entire complex website in minutes. That's work that used to take days, maybe weeks.
It completely changes the expectation for speed and accessibility in that field.
And this structural force isn't just about creating things, it extends to how you find information. The MIT Technology Review highlighted generative search as redefining the entire flow of information online.
It's a fundamental change to what a search result is, instead of a list of links directing you to existing sources.
It just gives you the answer.
It produces a composite answer. The AI synthesizes information from many sources and gives you a single definitive paragraph. It's not linking to the sources, it's crafting an answer from them.
And while that's incredibly efficient for the user, the sources really stress the tensions that come with it. Beyond the usual issues of transparency and bias, you run straight into this huge unresolved problem.
Intellectual property. IP.
Who owns this stuff?
It's a complete mess. I mean, if a piece of music is co-written by a human and an algorithm, and that algorithm was trained on millions of copyrighted songs, who owns the new song?
Is it the original artists? The human collaborator? The company that owns the AI?
Or the AI itself? The sources confirm that tracing authorship is becoming incredibly difficult, and there are these intense legal debates happening right now about the data that was used to train these models in the first place.
So what does this all mean? We've gone from how AI learns to how it creates, and now we have to look at how that content is distributed. This is where we hit maybe the biggest economic threat, the new gatekeepers. Our final story is about Google's AI overviews and the publishers who are facing what some analysts are calling a traffic apocalypse.
This is a really fundamental shift in the internet ecosystem. For 20 years? Publishers, news sites, blogs, creators, they've relied on Google as the single biggest driver of traffic to their websites.
It was the lifeblood of the whole online publishing economy.
It was. But now Google is repositioning itself. It's moving from a search engine to an answer engine. And it's doing that with these AI overviews, these polished AI-written summaries at the very top of the results page.
So the user gets the answer instantly. They never have to scroll. They never have to click a link.
They have no reason to.
And the sources are painting a pretty grim picture of what this means for publishers. The Guardian called this an existential crisis because that referral traffic is just collapsing.
And analysts were talking about a traffic apocalypse. The term used in the eWeek source was Google Zero.
Google Zero.
It refers to the scenario where Google hoards all the attention. The user spends zero time on external websites, which starves the very ecosystem that created the content the AI is summarizing in the first place.
And there's hard data to back this up. The warnings are, well, they're not theoretical.
Not at all. Pew Research found that when an AI summary is there at the top of the results, users click on the traditional blue links only 8% of the time.
8%. That's half the click rate of a page without an AI summary.
Think about that. If the AI gives you the answer, 92% of people are satisfied. They just move on, and it gets worse. The Authorities report found that for some specialized news sites, these summaries can wipe out nearly 80% of their traffic.
80%. That's not just an algorithm tweak. That's a business model disappearing overnight. The stakes for journalism for any specialized content are just astronomical.
Of course. No traffic means no chance to build a relationship with a reader. No chance for a subscription, no ad impressions, no engagement.
And like you said earlier, it becomes an editorial threat, too, not just a financial one. If these platforms control the summary, the first and maybe only thing the public sees, then the AI becomes the gatekeeper for which facts and perspectives even survive.
So what are the solutions being talked about?
They're elusive. The sources point to two main tracks. One is exploring compensation schemes, sort of like what they've tried in Australia and Canada, where platforms have to share revenue with publishers.
Up.
Is a technical demand. It's a push for transparency in how the AI summaries are sourced and weighted. Publishers just want to know how the platform is deciding what's authoritative and trustworthy.
Okay, so let's quickly synthesize the three movements we've covered. First, we saw AI starting to learn through this complex developmental mimicry. It's trying to be more efficient by acting like an infant. Then we saw generative AI becoming essential, structural infrastructure for the whole creative economy, which brings up these huge IP questions. And finally, we saw the internet's gatekeepers, through AI overviews, consolidating control over information flow, and really threatening the financial model for online publishers.
Yeah, the core tension is really clear for you, the listener. On one hand, you have the incredible efficiency and promise of systems like Baby VLM. But that's running headfirst into these massive unresolved questions about human ownership and compensation. The whole digital world is shifting from a model built on discovery, finding other sources, to one built on destination, where the answers just live inside the platform itself. It's a very complicated picture, but if you understand these three shifts, you at least have the framework for what's coming next.
And this raises one final provocative thought for you to consider. The sources show that AI overviews are flattening nuance into a single authoritative paragraph. We also know that AI is now being trained for continuous learning, building these complex mental models just like an infant. So if the AI system is learning to be the comprehensive source of truth, bypassing human publishers who rely on our direct engagement, what happens to the messy, diverse, and contested work of journalism, the work that depends entirely on that human interaction with nuance? Because that's the work the AI is learning to replace.
Thanks for listening to liveIWire.com. You can explore every story in full on the website, and early access is always available on Patreon for those who choose to support us. If you work in media and would like to feature any of our coverage, we're always looking to expand our distribution, and you can reach us directly through the site. The links to the 3 stories featured today are included in the episode details below, along with all relevant tags. Until next time.